If a cardinal keeps visiting after you lost someone, this is the message they're sending. You didn't plan it, you weren't looking for a sign, but there it was, a flash of red at your window, your feeder, your porch, right after the hardest loss of your life. And something inside you stopped. Something said, that's not a coincidence. You're not alone in that moment, and you're not wrong to feel it. Welcome back to Backyard Bird Mind. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe because what you're about to learn will change the way you look at every bird that visits your yard. Today we're talking about the cardinal, the red cardinal, the bird that has shown up for millions of American families at the exact moment it was needed most. We're going to look at what this belief actually comes from, why it runs so deep in this country, and what science and centuries of tradition together reveal about these visits. By the time this video ends, you'll never see a cardinal at your feeder the same way again. There are 7 signs we're going to cover today. Each one builds on the last, and I want to warn you now, sign number 5 is the one that most people find the hardest to explain away. So stay with me all the way through. Let's begin. Sign 1. The cardinal appears within days of a loss, and then keeps coming back. If you've experienced this, you already know what I'm describing. A loved one passes, a parent, a spouse, a sibling, a dear friend, and within a short time, sometimes within hours, a red cardinal appears somewhere close to you, at the kitchen window, on the fence post outside your back door, on the branch nearest to where you're sitting. And it doesn't just fly past, it stays. It looks at you, or it feels that way, and then it comes back, the next day.
This saying has been printed on greeting cards, carved into memorial stones, stitched into pillows, and passed between grieving families for generations. It is not a fringe belief. It is woven into the mainstream emotional culture of this country. But where does it actually come from? Part of the answer is indigenous. Several Native American traditions, including those of the Cherokee, associated the cardinal with relationships between the living and the spirit world. The bird's red color, so vivid and impossible to ignore in any season, was seen as a marker of something sacred crossing into the visible world. Not a ghost, not a haunting, something warmer than that. A presence, a reminder that love doesn't end at death. Part of the answer is also Christian. The cardinal takes its very name from the Catholic Church, from the red-robed cardinals of the clergy, who represented the sacred and the divine. For devout American families, particularly in the South and Midwest, the appearance of this brilliantly red bird after a loss carries layers of religious meaning that don't need to be explained. They are simply felt. And part of the answer is behavioral, which makes all of this even more remarkable. Because cardinals are, by nature, loyal creatures. They don't migrate. They stay in your yard year-round. They return to the same places, the same feeders, the same trees, season after season. If a cardinal has chosen your yard, it is genuinely chosen your yard. Its presence is not random. It is, in the most literal biological sense, intentional. Have you ever had a cardinal show up right after a loss? Hold that memory. We're going to come back to it. Sign 2. The cardinal visits at moments of emotional significance, not just randomly.
This is the detail that separates a passing bird from something that feels like a message. It's not that a cardinal appears once and disappears. It's that it appears when something is happening, when you're thinking of the person you lost, when you're sitting in their favorite chair, when you're going through their belongings, when you're at the cemetery, when you finally break down crying after holding it together for weeks. People who study grief have a name for these moments. They call them continuing bonds experiences, the sense that a deceased loved one is still present in some form. Research published in journals on bereavement has found that these experiences are far more common than most people admit. Studies suggest that between 40 and 80% of widows and widowers report some form of post-death contact experience, and among those, many involve animals, and among animals, birds appear most frequently. The cardinal specifically is the most commonly reported. Now, is the cardinal actually tracking your emotional state? Science would say no, but here is what science would say. Cardinals are extraordinarily perceptive birds. Research from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology confirms that cardinals are highly attuned to human behavior near their territory. They notice when you move differently. They notice when you're still. They are drawn, in documented ways, to calm, quiet human presence, which is exactly what grief looks like from the outside. So it is entirely possible, in the most scientifically grounded sense, that your grief, your stillness, your quiet is exactly what draws the cardinal closer. Whether you call that biology or something more is entirely up to you. Sign 3. The cardinal comes alone. This detail is reported so consistently that it's worth stopping on. When people describe these visits, the ones that feel meaningful, the ones they remember for years, the cardinal almost always comes alone, not as part of a flock, not with a mate nearby, just one bird, and it comes to you specifically. Cardinals, in nature, are not solitary by default. They mate for life, a fact we'll return to, and breeding pairs often forage near each other. But in fall and winter, cardinals do form loose flocks. They do move in groups. They do feed together. And yet the visits people describe as meaningful are almost always singular. There is no definitive scientific explanation for this, but there are documented behavioral patterns that make it less surprising than it seems. Male cardinals are territorial. A single male cardinal will patrol and defend a specific area with remarkable consistency. If a male cardinal has decided that your yard, your porch, your window ledge is part of his territory, he will return to it alone, repeatedly, as a matter of instinct. That territorial loyalty, that chosenness, is real. The cardinal is not wandering through. He has decided that this space belongs to him. And in choosing your space, he becomes a constant, recognizable presence in your life. For families in grief, this constancy matters more than almost anything else. The world has become uncertain, painful, unpredictable. And then there is this, a small red bird, alone, returning to the same place day after day, reliable, present, faithful. Sign 4. The cardinal looks directly at you. I want to pause here because this is the detail that people most often struggle to put into words. This is not imagination. It is in part biology, and it's remarkable. Birds have what researchers call a fovea, a concentrated area of high visual acuity on each eye. Unlike humans, who look at things straight ahead, birds often turn their heads sideways to bring their sharpest vision to bear on something that interests them. When a cardinal turns its head and appears to be looking directly at you with one eye, it is not a casual glance. It is focused attention. The bird is actually studying you with its best vision. Cardinals, in particular, have been observed in behavioral studies to spend extended periods of what researchers describe as vigilant observation near human activity. They watch, they assess, they are not indifferent to your presence. And here is something even more striking. Studies on bird cognition, including work published on corvids and applied more broadly to passerine birds, suggest that many songbirds can distinguish between individual human faces. Your cardinal may not just be visiting a yard, it may be visiting you, specifically, recognizing you, returning to you. The idea that a bird could know your face, could single you out, is not science fiction. It is documented, peer-reviewed reality. Stay with me, because what comes next is the part of this video that most people find they simply cannot explain away. Sign 5. The cardinal sings to you, and the song changes. Cardinals are among the most vocally complex songbirds in North America. Both the male and female sing, which is unusual. Most female songbirds don't sing. The northern cardinal does, and the songs they sing are not fixed. They are learned, varied, and, most remarkably, they respond to their environment in real time. Researchers at institutions including Ohio State University have documented that cardinals alter their songs based on social context. They sing differently when they are alarmed versus when they are at ease. They sing differently when they are competing versus when they are communicating with a mate. They sing differently in different seasons, in response to different sounds, in different locations. When a cardinal sings softly and persistently near a human, not an alarm call, not a territorial warning, but a quiet, unhurried song, it is a behavioral state that researchers associate with calm engagement, with presence without threat, with, for lack of a better word, being with something. Families who have lost someone often describe a cardinal that sings near them, sometimes for long stretches of time, in a way that feels unlike any bird sound they've heard before, quieter, more intimate, as if it's not broadcasting, as if it's just talking. I cannot tell you what that means in spiritual terms,
But I can tell you that the science of what cardinals do with their voices is far richer and far stranger than most people know. And I can tell you that what grieving families have been describing for generations, a song that feels like it was meant for them, is not inconsistent with what this bird actually does. Sign 6. Cardinals mate for life, and they find each other again. This fact alone has consoled more people in grief than almost anything else in this video. Northern cardinals form long-term pair bonds. They mate for life, or close to it. They have been documented maintaining the same pair bond for multiple years, sometimes for the entirety of their lives in the wild. They feed each other. The male brings food to the female during nesting season, a behavior called mate feeding, placing seeds gently in her beak, in a gesture so tender that it has been compared in popular writing to a kiss. When one partner dies, cardinals have been observed returning to places associated with their lost mate, returning, waiting, calling. For someone who has lost a partner of 30, 40, 50 years, this fact is not a small thing. The cardinal at your window is a creature that understands, in its own way, what it means to build a life with one person, what it means to lose them. And in multiple traditions, both spiritual and secular, the cardinal has come to represent exactly this: the persistence of love past separation, the belief that what was joined does not simply disappear. Sign 7. The cardinal comes back even when everything else has gone quiet. This is the sign people talk about years later, not the first visit, which is stunning and unforgettable. The visit that comes 6 months later, a year later, 3 years later, on a hard anniversary, on what would have been a birthday, on a morning when the grief comes back out of nowhere with all its original force, and you are not prepared for it. And there is the cardinal. Again, at the window, on the fence, on the branch outside your bedroom. Grief does not move in a straight line. Anyone who has lived it knows this. There are stretches of relative calm, and then there are days when the loss is as raw as it was at the beginning. And it is precisely on those days, according to the accounts of hundreds of thousands of families across this country, that the cardinal appears. Is this confirmation bias? Possibly. We notice things more when we are emotionally open to them.
That is a real psychological phenomenon, and I won't pretend otherwise. But I will tell you this: the cardinal is one of the only birds in North America that stays with you year-round, in every season, through winter and summer and every grief that falls between them. It does not leave. It does not migrate to somewhere warmer when the cold comes. It stays. And if you have placed a feeder in your yard, if you have made space for this bird, it will return to that space with a reliability that feels to many people like something more than habit. The ornithologist would say it's territorial loyalty and food source memory. The grieving daughter would say, it's my mother. And I genuinely think, that both of those things can be true at the same time. Before we close, I want to say something directly to you, because if you've stayed with this video to the end, there is probably a reason. Maybe you've had a visit like the ones we've described today. Maybe you've been a little afraid to say it out loud because you didn't want people to think you were being irrational or sentimental or just a person who sees what they want to see. You are not any of those things. You are a person who is paying attention, and the cardinal, this extraordinary, loyal, vivid, singing, life-mating, yard-choosing bird, is worth paying attention to. If you want to welcome cardinals to your yard, they are drawn to platform feeders with safflower seeds, sunflower seeds, and cracked corn. They prefer low, dense shrubs for shelter, native species like dogwood, hawthorn, and elderberry, and they are most active at dawn and dusk, so those are the moments to be near your window.
But more than the feeder or the shrubs, what the cardinal seems to return to, again and again, across thousands of reported experiences, is simply a person who is present, who is watching, who is open. So leave the window unobstructed. Step outside in the morning, and if a flash of red appears at a moment when you needed it, let yourself receive it. I want to hear from you. Have you ever had a cardinal visit at a moment like the ones we've described today? Was there a specific day, a specific loss, a specific moment when this bird appeared and something in you just knew? Tell me in the comments below. Every story matters, and the community that's gathering around this channel is one of the most thoughtful I've ever seen. If this video moved you, please share it with a friend, a family member, anyone who has been through a loss and might need to hear this today. That's how this channel grows, and that's how these stories reach the people who need them most. I'll see you in the next one. Backyard Bird Mind.